When we talk about the vehicles that literally built the developing world, the conversation usually starts and ends with one name, the Toyota Hilux. We call it indestructible. We see it on the news, in deserts, and in jungles. It is the gold standard. But what if I told you that before the Japanese giant conquered the globe, there was another king, a vehicle that possessed a bizarre, almost impossible combination of traits? Imagine a truck with the face of a Ferrari, the comfort of a Rolls-Royce, but the bones of a World War II tank. This is the Peugeot 504 pickup. For decades, this wasn't just a truck, it was the backbone of entire economies. It could float over potholes that would snap a modern Ford F-150 in half. But here is the mystery we are going to solve today. How did a stylish French sedan designed for Paris boulevards transform into the toughest pickup truck you've arguably never heard of? And more importantly, why did it disappear from the US market while Toyota took over? The answer lies in a specific piece of engineering hidden underneath the chassis that we will reveal later in this video. Welcome to Charlie's Vintage Vehicles. Buckle up, because we are going to the heart of the Sahara to uncover the legend of the lion. To understand this truck, you have to understand the anomaly of its birth. Most pickups, think of the Chevy C10 or the Ford F-Series, were born in factories with dust and grease. They were designed from day one to haul manure and lumber. The Peugeot 504, it was born on the red carpet. Launched in Paris in 1968, the 504 was Peugeot's flagship executive sedan. It wasn't just a car, it was a fashion statement. The body was penned by the legendary Italian design house Pininfarina. Yes, the same masters responsible for the Ferrari Testarossa and the Alfa Romeo Spider. Look at the headlights, the famous Sophia Loren eyes. Look at the trapezoidal trunk. It was so good that it won the European Car of the Year award in 1969. This was the car for doctors, lawyers, and diplomats. But here is where the French played a trick on the world. Beneath those elegant Italian lines, Peugeot hid a chassis that was over-engineered to an absurd degree. You see, Peugeot had a long history of selling cars in French colonies across North Africa. They knew that a fragile car would die in a week, so they built a unibody tank. They used thicker steel. They used subframes that looked like they belonged on a bridge, not a car. When the engineers looked at this luxury cruiser, they didn't just see a sedan. They saw a platform for something much, much rougher. In the early 1970s, Peugeot decided to strip the tuxedo off their flagship and put it in work boots. But here is where it gets interesting for the gearheads watching. Usually, when a company turns a car into a truck, like the Chevy El Camino or the Ford Ranchero, they keep the car suspension. It rides nice, but it can't haul heavy loads. Peugeot did something different. They performed a mechanical transplant. They kept the front end of the luxury sedan, the independent suspension, the rack and pinion steering, the comfort. But for the rear, they threw out the sophisticated coil springs and installed a heavy-duty solid live axle with leaf springs. But wait, there's a secret weapon here, the torque tube. Unlike almost every other truck that uses a standard drive shaft with U-joints that can snap under stress, Peugeot used an enclosed torque tube transmission. This is a rigid tube connecting the transmission to the differential. It protects the drive shaft from rocks, dust, and impact. It's expensive to build and usually found on high-end sports cars or tractors. The result? A strange hybrid, a truck that could carry over a ton of payload in the back, more than many full-size American trucks of the era, but drove with the smoothness of a French limousine in the front. Imagine driving a truck that can haul 2,500 pounds of bricks, but the steering feels like you're driving a Honda Accord. That was the magic of the 504. A truck is only as good as its heart, and this is where the 504 achieved God-tier status. Enter the Indenor Diesel engine, specifically the XD2 and XD3 variants. Now, I have to be honest with you, these engines were not built for speed. If you were in a hurry, the 504 diesel was not your friend. We have a saying in the community, acceleration in a 504 is measured with a calendar, not a stopwatch. 0 to 60? Eventually. But speed was not the point. Immortality was. These were naturally aspirated, indirect injection diesel engines. They featured wet liners, meaning you could rebuild the engine indefinitely without boring the block. No turbochargers to blow up, no ECUs to fry in the heat, no complex sensors. You could feed them low-quality
high-quality fuel that looked like mud. You could run them in 120 degrees heat. You could neglect an oil change for 10,000 miles, and the Indenor would just keep chugging along. Clack, clack, clack. That sound became the heartbeat of Africa. In remote areas where the nearest mechanic was 200 miles away and only had a hammer and a wrench, the simplicity of this engine wasn't just a feature, it was a matter of survival. The true test of the 504 pickup didn't happen on the streets of Paris. It happened on the washboard roads of the Sahara and the muddy tracks of the Congo. It earned the nickname the Queen of Africa. In Nigeria, Kenya, and Egypt, these pickups were often modified with a covered bed. They became bush taxis. Picture this, a vehicle rated for 1 ton, carrying 20 people, luggage, and maybe a goat tied to the roof, driving at full throttle across non-existent roads for 15 years straight. The Toyota Hilux eventually caught up, but the Peugeot 504 paved the road. So, here's the big question. Why didn't this succeed in America? Peugeot actually sold the 504 in the US. You could buy one in New York or Los Angeles in the 70s, but it failed. Why? 2 reasons. First, the timing. In the 70s, Americans viewed diesel engines as loud, smelly, and slow. We wanted V8 power. We didn't care about fuel economy or million-mile durability yet. Second, the dealer network. If your Chevy broke down in Texas, you could fix it at a gas station. If your Peugeot broke down, you were waiting weeks for parts from France. The 504 was the right truck on the wrong continent at the wrong time. By the 1980s, the tide had turned. Japanese manufacturing perfected the art of cheap reliability. They could build a Hilux faster and cheaper than the French could build a 504. Peugeot also made a fatal mistake. They shifted their focus to front-wheel drive cars, abandoning the rugged rear-wheel drive architecture that made them legends. They left a vacuum in the market, and Toyota, Nissan, and Mitsubishi were all too happy to fill it. But today, something interesting is happening. The 504 pickup is becoming a collector's item. Enthusiasts in Europe and the US are importing them, not to work them, but to preserve them. Prices are climbing. If you find a rust-free example in a barn, you might be looking at a serious return on investment. The Peugeot 504 pickup stands as a reminder of a different era of engineering. It was an era where a single platform could win a World Rally Championship, transport a diplomat to the opera, and haul a ton of bricks through a muddy field. It wasn't the fastest truck, it wasn't the biggest, but it possessed a soulful resilience that is missing from modern appliances. It proved that you don't need a massive grille or aggressive styling to be tough. Sometimes the toughest vehicle on the road is the one that looks like a gentleman, but works like a beast. Whether you call it the Lion of the Desert or the Queen of Africa, the 504 is the legend that cleared the path for the trucks we drive today.